One of the greatest challenges facing our societies is the loss of biological diversity. Biological diversity is fundamental to us. In order to understand what's at risk and in order to understand what we can do about it, we have to understand the mechanisms that maintain biological diversity. That indeed has been a central theme in ecological theory for a century. But until recently, there wasn't much mathematical theory that began to incorporate the spatial dimensions of species interactions into models. And so I set out in the 1970s, actually, to begin to build models that built spatial structure into the sorts of ecological models that people were considering. And that eventually led to the work that the jury kindly rewarded me with this wonderful prize. So mathematical theories, such as I do in my work, have been fundamental to problems of reserve design, but also much more broadly, much more generally, to a range of environmental problems that we're facing. In particular, all of these systems are what are called complex adaptive systems, in which individual actions by people, in particular, affect the environment and have consequences that we're living with, like climate change, the loss of biodiversity, and outbreaks of infectious diseases. In order to address these problems, we need the theoretical foundations. We've learned this as we struggle with trying to control the COVID pandemic. And in particular, we need to learn how to cooperate in addressing the public goods problems, the problems of the commons that are essential to our maintaining the ecological systems that are so crucial to us. And therefore, I've begun working much more closely with economists, with social scientists, and with people in particular in the business sector who have to understand the nature of these problems and have to understand that industry must be partners in solving these problems. And so I've been working closely with people from various aspects of the business sector who are trying to implement some of the essential steps that will be needed to achieve sustainability. We have no choice but to believe that we can solve this problem. We can help solve this problem because we've already done damage through the things I mentioned, climate change and loss of biodiversity. But I firmly believe that it's not too late for us to take the necessary steps, but we don't have a lot of time to lose. And what do we have to do? Well, we have to get the message across, as I mentioned, to the business sector. We have to get the message across to political leaders, and the only way we're going to get that message across is if we get the message across to people who will make their wishes known to decision makers. So scientists have a special responsibility not only to do the work, but to take the message to the public, to get the message out. And I'm hoping that recognition of the importance of this through, for example, the BBVA awards and other venues will begin to make people realize that we cannot just sit back and hope others will solve the problem for us. We have to address these problems. We have to believe we can solve them. We have to understand that in order to do that, we're going to need to find ways to cooperate across political boundaries and across international boundaries.